I want your take on it. Just to start off now.
Well, look, it's funny you said that because I'm in my sense of humor mode, right?
Okay.
And somebody posted on Facebook today. It popped up in my timeline. It say, "This is the 3rd of September. You ain't black if you don't know what that is." It was
that the day I always remember. That was the day.
That my daddy died. So the emphasis on the 3rd of September being the day that my daddy died is talking about patriarchy.
Ah.
Patriarchy.
Okay.
The revelation of truth is what killed the father, who was a bootleg preacher.
Okay.
I mean, that he was making it up as he go, teaching what he think can get him some money. I ain't in here for no money. And I work for the matriarchy.
That's right, you do.
So if I ain't here for money and I work for the matriarchy, then the patriarchy got to fall.
That's right.
Right? So in working for the matriarchy, a lot of the up and coming developing men think that the death of patriarchy mean that all of their power took. They don't understand the matriarchy. The matriarchy is not about taking the men out of positions of power and just putting a woman there. They might be the most qualified for that position. You're going to leave them there under the matriarchy. The matriarchy's rules are a lot simpler and comprehensive for the regular people than the patriarchal admiralty rules. Right? And the matriarchy is live your best life, be your best self to experience heaven on earth. The patriarchy is dog eat dog, step on your brother to get what you want. Right? It's two different ideologies as the root. Under the matriarchy, everybody in the tribes have a voice. And you send it up the chain of command. Under the patriarchy, the people that the patriarchy consider important, the only ones that matter, and everybody else's voice must only be apparently heard. Meaning they give you the appearance that they hear you, but they do what they was going to do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So in the matriarchy, a 4-year-old can get legislation put on the vote. And under the patriarchy, if you're not a legislative writer, you can't get nothing put on the vote. The difference is the law is handled by a group of specialized women that know how to use source energy as the guiding light to make law according to the law of nature. So the first two questions that they ask before they consider if it's something that they should be contemplating making law about, they ask two questions. How does it affect the children? The reason they ask that question, because the effect on the children tells you what effect it has in the future. And then the second question is, how does it affect the earth? Mm-hmm. If it affects either one of them negatively, it's rejected. You can't, it won't even benefit one if it don't benefit the other. Right? So this is the difference in the patriarchal dictators masquerading as democratic government, having people believe they vote count when nothing they say count. They just want to know who can organize the vote so they know who to pay off or murder. And if you can get you a group of people that they feel you can control, then whatever you ask for, they gonna compensate you in one form or another. They normally give it to you in tax breaks and grants. That's what 501c3 status is for the church.
501c3, yeah.
It's a waiver of financial um, penalty in the form of tax if you do what we want you to do. They're not going to give you access to exemptions if you're not going to benefit their system. But if you can figure out how to operate within their system to benefit the most people, they want you, and they will do anything they can to appease you from mobilizing those people to reclaim what's rightfully theirs. So this is why they have us under the illusion of voters' rights. They already said we don't got no rights in their system. So now we believe we got rights in their system, and we fight over the rights that they never gonna give us. And the only time you get a benefit is when you can sabotage the most people on their behalf. The more people you can sabotage, the more comfortable they let you live. Oppression is atmospheric. There's two ways to the top. Rise up or suck up. It's only two ways to the top. And we got too many suck ups and not enough rise ups. Because when you rise up, you know what you're doing, or else you're not going to leave your seat. But when you suck up, you don't know what you're doing because you don't understand why you can't get no power. All suction and ain't getting no power. Right? That's like a Hollywood prostitute. When she get old, she still was a prostitute and she got nothing to show for it, but probably a house and a car. Then she look back and she's miserable with how she lived her life. The whore of Babylon. Right? So they use the political stage show to steer the psychological grouping or sociology of the collective. If they can give you a compelling show, they have your attention. If they got your attention, you will follow them off the cliff.
Like but as soon
as soon as you take your attention back, they are offended at you because you're taking your power back.
Let's talk about power for a minute, or the lack thereof, or the appearance of, or the mindset of there being no power. Can you tell us when we went from knowing that we were that God, we were the gods that God, the scripture, even if you go to the Bible, there's a scripture that says the greater one lives on the inside, and Yeshua was allegedly talking to the masses and saying, you got the greater one, you got him already on the inside of you. So we see that there, yet what has been espoused and taught and assimilated has been powerlessness and looking to government, which we know allowing somebody else to take over control of one's mental faculties and to put thoughts and ideologies and so forth and to control. When did we go from knowing who we were, where we came from, to where we are now, being completely, in a like the Twilight Zone, or brainwashed as if these things had never even been our story? What happened? What transpired? I guess I want to say.
Sociology is the study of groups and how groups operate, how they move. This tells you what their trigger mechanisms is. It can tell you how to turn them on each other. It can tell you how to execute your divide and conquer strategies. The ones with enough of the old ways will begin to remember pieces of it, and they will do things that gather the attention away from the stage show. They use the same strategy as an illusionist in Vegas, a David Copperfield trick. They tell you that you don't have any rights because they declare war on you. But then they told you, you're not them people that we talking about. We talk about these other people that we brought over here with us to replace you. But we ain't gonna tell you that part. Rod Hayes just gonna say the quiet part out loud so the people know how the game plays. So they telling you from somewhere else, but your insides keep saying that just something ain't right with that story. You don't know what it is because so many people that look like you believe the same narrative. But some of us don't. The hard part is for the ones who don't to go find enough evidence to prove the case. We become then tribal investigators. And we trade the information by wind talking or code talking. The ghetto code, dash, tells us where we are. How much influence do we still have over our people versus the squatters that came? We always knew who we was, but most of us couldn't say it out loud without being penalized. The threat of death and punishment and torture made a lot of our people whisper it to only certain people in the family that they know can hold water. So they don't want us singing, call a plumber, it must be a leak in my drain, because everybody seemed to know about my good thing. Right? So the plumber just so happened to be another Klansman. When he get there, he gonna tell you why you got a leak in your drain, but shh, don't you tell nobody. So then they create comprehensive structures to slowly feed us back the information of who we are by telling us to watch how we operate. So then the government tricked the people into believing that the righteous, rightful heirs of the land is the criminals. Because they came with the admiralty law and they denied us our right to enforce tribal law as a clan. Every tribal leader is responsible for keeping his clan under control, and he used members of the clan to do it. By using a strategy called villainization, they systematically take parts of our culture, create a word that means something negative, and then they call us by the negative term on a wide spectrum broadcast like the news. Before that, it was the newspaper, the movie reels, the news reels. They making movies to tell us that we marijuana smoking, white girl raping, and lunatics, the niggas, right? But then when it coming to find out, the ones who was smoking the herb was the kindest, peacefulest people. And then Paleface told us, because they had something called the flower generation, where they was learning all of this stuff from the tribal leaders. Many of them look like us, on why they using the herb, why they eating the mushroom, right? But at the same time, they trying to tell us the government lied, and here come out here hippie. Hippie is a tribal term from the people of the land describing something.
Really?
So the hippie generation is known as the flower child generation. It's the bridge between the baby boomers and Generation X. It's the flower child and free love generation. So how do you stop them from giving free love? You poison them with STDs. That's all chemical warfare, biological warfare.
So you're saying that the introduction of the STDs was something that was well, it was
It's
introduced.
biological warfare. First you
We know
promote it, then you poison it. If it work, you poison it.
when you say once you promote it, when you mean promote the free love and then put something in to
Make
create.
it, yeah. So you make it mainstream, and then you poison it. Because now you have to try to stop the people from reproducing in time enough to catch the one that's going to figure out the problem. If too many babies is born, that's what they call scattering your shots. That's why it's more than one big mama on the land that got a baby boy that she sent out on a mission. We come from different tribes, but we all have a tribal responsibility as a tribal investigator to look at the problem. And when we don't know what the problem is, we tell the part we know, this is what I found out so far. And then we pass it to the next chief for him to look at it and do his investigation. And we use the music, the arts, and the entertainment because that is the root to the culture. You don't have a culture if you don't have that stuff. And I don't care which generation you look back on the last 100 years, if you start at ragtime and you come to hip hop, it's us. James Brown was a chief. Chuck Berry was a chief. Little Richard, Chief Screaming Hawk. Smokey Robinson, Hyoka High Chief. They putting codes in the music. The Temptations. Chiefs. They putting codes in the music. You got to know who writing this music. You got brothers is teaching others how to talk to us in the music. They called them music fixers in the 50s and 60s. They had to fix the music because the other people don't know the way we use music. So they can't promote the culture we give them until we show them how to fix the music. And the music is the...
I was going to say, can you take that all the way back to the so-called days of slavery when, you know, the songs that were being sung that were actually now they became incorporated into the spiritual religious songs, but they were actually messages that were being broadcast or things that were being talked about that were not openly spoken of, for, you know, like even when we talk about so-called ETs and so forth, swing down chariot, stop and let me ride, you know, in the church, you know, is saying, you know, rock me, Lord, in the bosom of Abraham. But what we know of chariots of fire, the chariots of the so-called gods. So were our ancestors connecting, or were they knew that there were sky people and they were saying, come get me, look, take me out, whatever. They were sharecropping and they were stuck in these situations that they wanted to be, you know, relieved from. Was that what was going on? Or
the earth tribes, no matter what part of the land they are going to look to the Americas for the next wave of cultural phenomenon. Biblically, they call us the salt of the earth because we are the progenitors of the music, of the art, of the acting, of the singing, of the dancing, right? We are the progenitors of that. So if you go back to Muhammad, and the hadith say Muhammad was having a celebration and he put the celebration on hold and say, where's the ones with the duffs? That's the drum. If you look at Shaka Zulu, when he leaves the shaman getting the sword made, when he about to be promoted, he had a feast for him and they played the bongos, the drums, right? If you go to Nelson Mandela in Stephen Biko in the apartheid era, they talking in the music. If you go to Frantz Fanon, he said, where are the days when the mothers sung the songs of liberation into the ears of the babes to stand up and oust the enemy? So it's always been our cultural development that influences music, but we always code music. You code it with the 808. That's the war drum. We are in a state of war. Hip hop is telling you that with the 808. So the 808 is the root chakra pound to get you active and moving in order to find out why you stuck in your lower self. Once you understand what the codes in the music, all of the notes is telling you a story, right? The A tone is the A minor. A minor is a certain pitch in the music, but it's a homonym for what them people doing wrong.
They not like us.
They not like that. Right?
All right.
So then you go from your minors to your flats, your B's, your C's, your D's. Those are your grades that the frequency come in on. And the frequency is played out in the note. What is a note? It's a short letter.
Okay.
So the note is going to tell you what the pitch is. The pitcher is the sender. He's the one on the pitcher's mound about to try to strike somebody out. Once you know what the pitch is it a curveball? Is it a slider, a fastball, a slow ball? Right? What's the pitch? If you don't know what the catcher flipped as the code to the pitcher, then you won't never know what the pitch is. So now you have to know what the catcher is covering what? Home plate. That means the home base is being covered by the one who's flipping the code to the one at the pitcher's mound. Right? So the pitcher is determining the pitch based on the frequency that comes from home. Your home training. Mama, your first teacher. Your first nurse, right? She's teaching you the art and science of loving home and family first. So when you become an adult as a chief, you say that whatever I do with myself, it's going to benefit home and family first, which takes us to a first family flip, which is a royal art degree. Because only from the royal house will you get the red, blue arc. And the arc is the covenant. And the covenant is the rainbow. And the rainbow is being perverted by the society in order to create an aversion to the rightful layer of the colors in the spectrum. Every note in music has a color assigned to the note.
Right.
So now you got colors. I'm a nightmare walking, psychopath talking, king of my jungle, just a gangster stalking. That's an Ice-T flip. And Ice-T is flipping from Long Island. The Strong Island, right? The Strong Island. The Strong Island is where Rakim's from. The Black God, Code Flipper, High Chief, 5% Nation, right? They say I was locked in jail, so now I guess I'm out on bail. But the only island I was on was the strong one. And if I did a bit, it'd be a long one, right? So he's flipping the code back to the other island. So now we got an island knock off an island knock. So Belle Isle is in Detroit, right? And Detroit is where Chief Pontiac had to fight the French at River Rouge when they turned the water red and the blood was up to the horse's bridle, which was the blood in the water, which takes us to Chicago and the Democratic National Convention. All this is just tying the music to the culture, to the politics.
Wow.
That's called a zigzag flip. Because in the DNC, they dyed the Chicago River red, which turned it from the Chicago River to the Rouge River, because Chicago is supposed to be founded by a French named Dusable, Jean-Baptiste Dusable.
Okay.
But it wasn't, because before they changed the name to Chicago, it was an old tribal metropolis called Chata.
Wow.
So they want us to believe that this was an uninhabited land, but we have castles all over the land. They just turned them into prisons and state buildings in order to open your path.
And asylums.
Yep, mental hospitals.
Yeah.
So they telling you what they gonna do with you. They gonna either govern you with their politics, or they gonna house you in your castle as a prison, or they gonna drive you crazy trying to collect your birthright if you don't remember the old ways.
Wow. While you were talking about the colors and the notes and all that, it made me, I jumped off for a minute because I wanted to go. You know, I guess one of the things I do is working with energy, and one of the things we have is when we're doing an energy assessment of someone, frequency wise, you could determine what color or colors are prominent in someone's life, whether the colors are negatively influencing them or positive, what frequencies, what note is pitched too high or what might be too low, and what's balanced. So we end up giving the client tones that balance what comes up in their assessment. But we also give them colors that would give them certain outcomes. So, these are a lot of the things that we don't get the benefit of. This is technology that's old and ancient, but withheld from the masses, so that those, so-called, in the know elites can take the benefit of that. Because you might be looking at, purple, and purple might be setting you off, for instance. And you might be like, so what we end up doing, and I went and pulled my thing. What we end up doing is we have glasses, and so today I need to look at, if I need to look at things through, like, say, rose-colored glasses, I can put the color lens on that I need to balance. It might be my chakras might be off, or it may be some energetic issue with me. But a lot of times, I mean, even though, because we were going to talk in this part about some metaphysical stuff. So a lot of times, like I said, or it might say, in order for me to get what it is I need, I may need to have orange. I need to be focusing on orange. I can change my lenses and change my perspective and change the energy in my body. So a lot of times, the certain colors that they put on us and the tones that they put on us are affecting us, our body, our mental, even our physiology, colors and frequency. And I learned that, with what I've been doing with AOScan for a while, but this is something that's ancient and old that our people knew. I'm pretty sure there were certain tones or certain colors and so forth that they knew to stay away from, or they knew to maybe embrace at a certain time. And it can change. It may be you need the purple today, but tomorrow you need to be looking at yellow or green. And it's kind of hard to do that, because this kind of knowledge, where it may have been widespread back in our earlier ancient days, they took all that away from us.
Yeah, like biorhythms. Your biorhythms can be electronically read because they have machines calibrated to your biorhythm. Mm-hmm. And each one of your biorhythms is assigned a color. The same with moods, right? Remember the mood ring? When
Oh,
your
yeah.
mood change, the color change? Right, because they all have a energy signature. Some stones, like the one they make the real moon rings out of, not these fake ones that they use paper that's designed to do what the stone do. But the real stone, people would carry them around to monitor their own mood so that they can try to maintain a certain frequency.
Right.
And then they turned them into a novelty, exploiting our culture because we naturally drawn to things that's from our old cultures. They find ways to give us a mimic, an artificial replica of it, and then our genetic memory will be drawn to it. It's the same with the Bible. That's why the Bible, it was rewritten and scrambled up to